Okay, so I'm going to try to show you a little bit about what we did last night so that you're not coming to class totally miffed next class. Um, we created this budget. I had everybody input all this data without any of the formatting, which doesn't matter right now because I was going to go over formatting it this way in class. So if you just get it put in, don't worry about how it looks necessarily. Just try to make sure that it's set up the same way. Excel has columns and rows. Rows go across, columns come down. Columns are identified by letters in the header. These are column headers. And rows are identified by numbers in the row header. Um, so let's see, I'm just going to get started. Once you get this information in, the way that you format this first row of data, it's moving right now, I was just dragging it and moving it, is what I've done is you have to input this monthly budget information into A1 here. Up here, this is different because I'm on a Mac right now, so you don't have the ribbon and all that stuff showing here, but there's a lot of similarities still. This is called the name box up here, and it will identify what cell you're in. So right now, Excel thinks this entire section of cells is called A1 because I used this tool, the Merge and Center tool. You also have that on your ribbon. And you might have to look around and hover over it to find it, but it looks a little different than what this one does. So I highlight all the cells that I want the Merge and Center to take place on, and then I click Merge and Center button, and it merges all those cells together and then centers the text that's in there. Now, to highlight like this pink, let's show you that really quickly. I would normally select these two cells because I want the pink to be in both those cells. And you're actually using this fill bucket, and you're just going to fill it with the pink color. You can see it's already selected here. So I'm not going to do it now because it's already done, but that's how you do that. And once you've selected the color, it stays here. So when you come to this cell and click in it, then you just click the fill button because it should still be on the same pink. And then you do the same thing here. You click on this cell and go to the fill bucket, and it should be on the same pink. And then when you change colors here, these are all for subtotals, these yellows. See that? And the remainders are green. And then over here, I've used blue just to highlight different sections of this worksheet. Now, in a worksheet, this is a worksheet that we're working on. It's actually sheet 1. When you open a new workbook, which you always do when you open Excel, or you open something you've already created, but to start with, you usually open a new blank one. The default that opens up is with 3 sheets. And you can click through these sheets, and you can rename sheets. I don't know what I'm going to rename it, but that's how you do it. Right, you can right-click on it, or you can double-click on it, and you should be able to edit what's there. And you want to rename sheets so that if you've got more sheets in a workbook, it would be more easily identified. For example, if you're doing a monthly budget and you want one for each month, you might have 12 sheets in one workbook. Okay, so that's how you create the colors. This income, total income, expenses, all this is in bold. This $2,000 limit is not. So, but one quick easy way to do this is just to select the entire column and tell it to bold everything in that column, rather than going through each cell and doing it. And then to change this back from bold, you undo the bold on that part. You might notice that these subtotal, the text here that says subtotal expenses on both these might be a little smaller than the others. I can't tell if that's just the highlighting on there or if it's actually smaller. One way to know would be to look, and here total income is 9-point font, and remainder here is 10. So those are different sizes, and this is probably 9 as well. Yep. Okay, so that's how you do the formatting. If you want to format a block of text, you highlight the entire block, and you format the way you want. This is comic font. You don't have to use comic, but use something that's reasonable. Don't worry about putting these asterisks in, or you might come across a place like here on expenses. There's a superscript 1. You can barely see it here, but there is. Don't worry about putting that in. The way you would get to that is, if I can remember now on here because I'm in Word, is I would use format cells and go through that way. So for you, you would have to find that dialog box and find your superscript. Okay, so that's how you do the formatting. All this basic data should be on your spreadsheet. To make this line along this edge, you select the range, and it is including A1 in mine, but it doesn't have to be in yours. Oh, sorry. Sometimes Macs aren't the best way to do this. I don't want to grab that, so what I want to do is just highlight this entire section, and then just like in Word, you have a borders tool. This is not where it's going to be located on yours because you're using Office with Windows 7, I believe, so it's not going to look like this. This is a Mac. And I can just select the border that I want. Well, my border's already there, so if I select this, it's going to be confusing. But for you guys, you should be able to do that, okay? And then this is the tricky part. We're going to work with creating formulas. In Excel, formulas need to be identified by an equal sign because if you don't, it's not going to know the difference between text or just numbers. And so we want to specifically identify a formula. So we're going to do this formula. I want to add the 760, 320, and the 180 together to get my total income because that's what it's asking for here. So rather than using the numbers here, I'm going to reference the cells. So I'm going to reference D5 and D6. So I'm going to put my equal sign in, and then I'm going to type D5 plus D6, and I don't need those spaces between there, but you'll notice that as I referenced the cells, they became highlighted with different colors, and they also match the colors in my formula. So that helps me to determine whether I'm doing the right thing or not. So there's my total. Well, I don't really want to have to go through and do each one of these all the same. This is the exact same thing, just referencing different cells. All I really need to do here is copy and paste. It's going to paste my formula in, which is cool. And because this is known as a relative cell reference, it adjusted to its new location relative to what it was doing in its old location. So I hope that makes sense. There's two ways to create a formula. You create the first one, and then you copy and paste for the second. If you want these marching ants off your cell, because sometimes that'll persist and stay there for some reason because it's thinking you want to do something. If you want that gone, then just hit your escape key and that'll stop. So now we want to total up all these expenses to get a subtotal of expenses here. I'm going to show you a new tool. Here you can use the AutoSum. AutoSum in Excel tries to figure out what you're trying to total up. So you click AutoSum. Well, you do it easier on a PC. And here it jumps up to the first number it finds. Now it usually looks upward of itself. So you've got to position your cursor in the right place and select the right cell to make it active. Or it looks to the left, and it may look to the right depending on how your numbers are laid out, but it generally does not look down, okay? So it jumped up here thinking maybe this is what you want in your total. Well, it's not what I want in my total. What I actually want in my total is all of this. So D10 through D18 looks more like it. I'm happy with that. I'm going to hit enter, and there's my subtotal.